into Tarmogoyf, Force of Will and Jace the Mind Sculptor, as well as Stoneforge Mystic, Jete, Sensei's Divining Top, Sylvan Library. Basically, all the great cards that you see in other decks in Legacy, basically combined in one deck with a bunch of Cascade spells. So
He's got it all, yeah.
very interesting deck here.
I did a deck tech with Justin earlier that I don't believe we have up quite yet. But he described when he was building the deck, he just wanted to be the fairest deck. He came and he wants to beat Jund at its own game. Is his goal today.
Well, it certainly seems like one of the more fun decks I've seen in the room. Just being able to cascade into Ancestral Vision seems like too exciting for words.
Doug's on the play, which if Justin were running Deathrite Shamans would be, kind of a little bit of a big deal if those were his primary way to fix his mana. But since he does have a Noble Hierarch around, it's not so bad.
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't know if he did that for a reason so that in the mirror he doesn't have to worry about the priority shenanigans and not being on the play with the Deathrite Shaman. But you're right. It doesn't really matter if Doug has a Deathrite Shaman because Justin plays Noble Hierarch, so he's still gonna be able to ramp up if he wants to.
I can spot at least a Shardless Agent and a Noble.
And
so
there it is. So.
Now, Justin has already Yahtzeed once today, he said. He turn 1 Nobled into turn 3 Bloodbraid Elf, Shardless, Ancestral Visions. Which is the Yahtzee, I think.
It looks like he has at least one Ancestral Vision in his hand, which is unfortunate. Oh, wow. Oof. So this is going to slow things down a bit.
The Modern Haymaker has made it to Legacy. Turn 2 Liliana the Veil.
Draws a Force of Will, so he can pitch at Visions if he wants.
That's an untimely Force of Will as well. He'd probably have been very happy to counter Liliana in that situation.
Yeah.
Liliana ticks up. Doug is going to ban his own Force of Will, and Justin predictably bans a Visions. It looks like he's got a Shardless Agent, the Force of Will, a Tarmogoyf, and 2 Shardless Agents.
Yeah, it's interesting. Justin does have Lightning Bolt as a way to deal with Deathrite Shaman. Does not have Abrupt Decay. Does not have many good answers to Tarmogoyf. He has 3 of his own, but doesn't have the Abrupt Decays that most bug versions have.
I know he said that post-board he actually brings in Rest in Pieces against bug decks to turn off their Shamans and kill their Tarmogoyfs.
It's actually a reasonable plan.
Personally...
and it makes even more sense why he's playing Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, the Relic of Progenitus has played the same role in Modern recently as a Tarmogoyf sizer downer, as it were. Not quite the same thing going on here, but Rest in Peace, very powerful Legacy sideboard card, and Justin's decided to eke a little more value out of it than just a hoser.
Yeah, and he's definitely doing, he gets random value against decks like Dredge, which we saw earlier.
Cards like that are especially powerful when you factor in the element of Cascade. Yep. When you just get to free roll additional copies of your sideboard card, you've got like a 10% here, 10% there. Not necessarily that big a deal, but it adds up really fast, especially when they're haymakers like Rest in Peace. Cascading in a Noble Hierarch is relatively reasonable. It means he can toss that 2/2 if he wants to make sure he keeps his mana around, which seems likely. I guess he can threaten the Liliana with attacks as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat unfortunate that he doesn't have the functionality that a Deathrite Shaman does. The life gain, the dealing damage, as well as the mana, is really just such a huge card. But again, it looks like we're probably just going to get a land Abrupt Decay maybe on the Noble Hierarch, and then maybe just uptick. It looks like he just wants to pitch the land.
He's going to uptick first. Okay.
Just wants to pitch the land, save the Abrupt Decay to see what Justin ends up doing.
I think Justin may have drawn a Jace last turn, so he might just be slamming the Planeswalker here under no pressure.
That's exactly what happened.
Damn.
He drew a Flooded Strand, so he's going to attack. We're going to see maybe an Abrupt Decay here, which is, I think, he's more than happy with.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I'm going to let that one go, and then we're going to sculpt some mines.
And, this is a pretty good situation for Justin, because he can Fate Seal here if he doesn't want to get a card in his hand, just because of Liliana.
Sure. He can also play a land this turn. That will put him down to 0. Yeah, he hasn't played one, so...
I like the Fate Seal. I'd probably go down to 0, especially since it's a sack land. You can sort of sculpt your hand next turn if you'd like.
I agree with that. That's much better. Well, we're almost out of our instants and sorceries in our graveyard. That's probably a land. Yeah.
Okay, so just upticks Liliana again. Doesn't really have an impact. Can we get a Bloodbraid Elf here?
It's one of the definitely. That's like what he wants in this matchup for sure. Like he just wants to out cascade whatever they're trying to do.
Definitely want to dig here. I think with Jace.
Fate Seal.
No, Fate Seal again. Interesting, especially with the Verdant Catacombs in play. I don't love this play, especially if you can't cast the spell in your hand. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, so he's got a Charlotte's Agent. Probably would have cast that first before I Fate Sealed. Okay, so.
I guess he figures I'm 100% going to be casting the Charlotte's Agent, so maybe he didn't want to brainstorm and have to throw back good spells. I don't know. I think I like casting it and then deciding what to do. There might even have been some merit to Fate Sealing yourself versus brainstorming if you really just want to get loyalty counters, but.
So it looks like you can play a Stoneforge Mystic here too. But yeah.
I think I'd rather attack the Liliana with the active Hierarch. Because putting it to 2 means he can't edict it.
But he's gonna. It looks like he's gonna lose. He'd lose the Stoneforge Mystic here. But he's gonna lose the card he searches for anyway.
Right.
Because of Liliana.
So you get a Squire instead of putting 2 damage on Liliana, basically.
Yeah.
Or is he just going to decline to search? Because that's also reasonable. Yeah, he just declines.
Okay, so decline to search
Smart
here.
decline. He can actually Jace bounce his Stoneforge Mystic back if he wants to, actually find something at some point. So that's a reasonable play as well.
He does have a Jeté in his deck that he can get, and as well as a Batterskull. Jeté would be really great for him right here. Might actually what would be if Doug's clearly gonna probably uptick Liliana next turn. So as long as he doesn't top deck a Jace here, it doesn't really matter what he draws because. So was that end of turn or?
Yeah, that was he fetched
okay.
the end of turn.
So let's see what he has here.
I'm not really in love with just cracking that fetch to thin the deck either. Like.
Yeah, especially with the. Well, no, he knew that Justin Fate Sealed and kept it on top, so I think he wanted to.
That's right, that did happen earlier in the turn.
So let's see. Justin really needs Charlotte's Agent into Ancestral Visions.
Looks like he has found not much. That looks like a land. No, it looks like an Abrupt Decay. Yep.
So he's not going to up. Looks like he might just pass. Maybe tick down to Liliana. No, not doing anything. He wants to keep the Abrupt Decay in case a Jeté is drawn. So I think Justin has to realize now, okay, if he didn't uptick, he really wants that card.
Yeah.
Probably either, pretty sure it's, I think Abrupt Decay is a reasonable assumption now. Don't think he wants to bounce. He could have bounced his Stoneforge Mystic.
Very few other cards.
Jeté, but
really
obviously not going to do that now.
Looks like, I imagine, we've pressured Liliana and that's forced Doug to reply.
Wow. So,
keeping up the heat.
So Fate Seal ensures that the draw is probably not going to be spectacular. We got a 4/5 Tarmogoyf here. Deathrite Shaman's still slowly ticking away.
Yeah, Justin's actually getting a little low, a little on the light side. Doug, however, is mostly all in on Deathrite Shaman. His deck has no evasion, and this board is already gummed up to the point that he's not doing much.
So Justin let Doug keep an Ancestral Vision, assuming the game will not get to the point where that will matter. I think it's a reasonable assumption given Jace's current stats.
Man, if that card was Ancestral Recall, it still might not matter. Like, this is getting pretty far out there.
So he ticks down Liliana. Let's see a draw.
Continues to Fate Seal. This has been an aggressive game of Fate Sealing. Most people are very happy to be brainstorming the night away with Jace, but Justin went straight for the top of the library.
Attack Liliana or just attack Doug? Wonder if at a certain point Justin just doesn't care about Liliana anymore.
I think we're either at that point or very close to it. Just gonna send the Stoneforge Mystic, leave the Tarmogoyf on defense.
Right.
Yes.
So it's, you know, drops into 7.
This is a hilarious race. Deathrite Shaman against Jace.
Let's see what wins. What do we have? Another land? Another Ancestral Visions.
Well, he missed a trigger on the one he already has.
Yeah. Well, with Jace at 11, I don't think Doug really cares that much.
Yeah. I feel like at some point we'll notice we have 2 Visions on 4, maybe. If we could have the judge correct that, that'd be sweet. One of the Ancestral Visions hasn't been ticked down. Yeah. Oh, that's fair. I guess those are triggers, yeah.
So, yep. Even suspend, you miss those triggers, Visions gets much, much worse.
Fading, man, that got better.
Wow, fading's the nut. How are people not playing Blastoderms?
Yeah.
So what are we doing? We're upticking Jace. Put a tiny dice on top of the 12.
That is
Jace
indeed the 13th.
ready to go ultimate soon. There's a sack land.
It's almost all over here. And it is all over. Admirable effort from Deathrite Shaman, but he couldn't quite close it out.
Put up a fight, but Justin's deck looked pretty impressive that game. Really, well, Charlotte's Agent into Ancestral Visions was really...
Yeah, that tends to always look pretty
part,
impressive.
yes.
I think this is like the matchup, at least the sort of matchup Justin came for, right? Like, I mean, if your game plan is to just try and cascade on me and like 1-for-1 me a bunch of times, like Justin's deck has to like love playing against cards like Thoughtseize, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he has Force of Will, which can stop Jace's, but yeah, he just has more Cascade spells, you know? Right. And I definitely like the Noble Hierarchy. You could tell that he thought about it, you know? He didn't, because like at first you'd say, oh, why isn't he playing Deathrite Shaman? But you could tell he put significant thought into it. He said, I think Noble Hierarchy is probably better in the mirror because it doesn't matter if I'm going to play or draw. And plus, maybe I want to bring in Rest in Peace after board to sort of shut off their Snapcaster Mages and their Deathrite Shamans or their Tarmogoyf. So definitely a lot of thought into his deck. So be interesting to see if he can continue to win with it.
The Noble Hierarchs also basically make that white splash free, right? Like it's one of his primary sources. He doesn't have to run a Plains to like get around Wasteland. I think just relying on Noble Hierarchs totally fine when you have such a light splash for the white.
Yeah, I think he has 1 Savannah and 1 Tundra.
Yep.
But yeah, there's really he's got 3 Stoneforge Mystics. Not too much white. Rest in Peace, Stoneforge Mystic. So yeah, I mean, pretty much a free splash.
In his sideboard, he has Counterbalance top, giving him a completely different angle to attack with. I'm not sure if you bring it in this matchup. I'm just not familiar with exactly Justin's plan.
I kind of like. Well, again, they have Abrupt Decay, so he's probably not bringing it in.
I know he plans to board out his Tarmogoyfs for Rest in Pieces. He mentioned that in the deck tech as a thing he does. So
it's possible he might board out the Force of Wills as well. I'm not sure if they have him to Turok, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he wants Pyroblast.
You certainly want that 4th Bloodbraid Elf, right? So
yeah, maybe Click comes in.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
The tops by themselves.
Pyroblast seems a little bit sketchy just because of the Cascade spell. So
yeah.
maybe just the Bloodbraid Elf and the Rest in Peace and the Clicks.
I like those for the Goyfs and the Forces.
Yeah.
That seems very reasonable. On Doug's side, he has a significantly more conventional list, although he is running Sinkholes in the sideboard, which are a little adorable. I imagine that other bug decks are kind of where he would want Sinkholes, being able to get ahead.
Yeah.
Especially when you're both fighting to get to Jace via Deathrite Shaman, so being able to Sinkhole them before they get there is kind of a big deal. But beyond that, I'm not sure what he's really expecting. He might assume that Sower of Temptation is a reasonable card in a pseudo bug mirror, you know, because Abrupticate doesn't kill it, but Justin has Lightning Bolts.
Or Lightning Bolts, yeah.
He's ready.
I gotta say, I really like. It looks like Justin put a lot of thought into particularly this matchup and Jund, you know.
Yeah.
So it looks a little crazy. Some of the choices might be a little strange, but he definitely put thought into it, you know. I want Lightning Bolt because it answers cards that I care about. Like I want to be able to kill a Death Art Shaman on turn 1. I don't have to wait a turn if I'm gonna draw. You know, so he definitely put a lot of thought into his choices. And the other thing is Lightning Bolt's never dead if you cascade into it. You know, whereas Abrupticate can be. So
very true.
I think Justin is pretty well positioned right here.
Yeah, I definitely like his side of it. He already took one down on the draw against the Deathrite Shaman with turn 2 Liliana. Like in Modern, that's almost unbeatable when that happens to you. And in Legacy, it's not far off. Like it's a big play.
Yeah, it was really, you know, that Shardless Agent into Ancestral Visions was just huge. And
could be anything.
Yeah. Could be a boat.
Whew, just wheeling him off the top. I think an Ancestral Visions and a Blood Red Elf. I already like this hand in the matchup for Justin. Don't really know what else is going on.
Turn 1 Visions.
How bad could it be?
Like, whatever. I'll take it as long as he doesn't have a Deathrite Shaman, which it looks like Doug does.
One of our big sellers on the weekend was Divert, which I found amusing because it's a card that you'd obviously love to have when someone Shardless Agents into an Ancestral Visions, but hate to have when they just play one. It's the worst.
I'm going to pick my chances. Although it is good against Abrupticate, right?
Against Abrupticate, it's definitely a reasonable spell. And against Hymns as well, which is another card the Bug deck runs, including Doug's list. I feel like Him might be a little better against Justin than it is against other Bug decks, maybe, because he has a few more high casting cost cards that'll be they are what he leans on, you know. But at the same time, when he peels off the top, like he has much better top decks.
Yeah. So instead of a Deathrite Shaman, we see a Ancestral Vision. So kind of a lucky break for Justin, I think. Deathrite Shaman is one of the better cards in Doug's deck, and you'd hate to see a turn 2 Shardless Agent. So again, it's not great, but certainly right now they have parity, and like you said, Justin's deck can top deck a little bit better. Ooh,
Stoneforge this time.
You never know what you're going to get with this deck.
It's exciting, right?
It is exciting, yeah.
So he has to search for a Savannah to play that, right? Yeah, because he can't get his Tundra.
Yeah, so he's going to have access to all the colors he needs. Plays Stoneforge Mystic, doesn't resolve. Yes, getting a Batter Skull probably because he has a Jeté in his hand. So as long as the Abrupt Decay is not there, I think he's in pretty good shape. Doug doesn't have too many answers to Batter Skull.
You know, if I'm Doug, I might have even like maybe shaved an Abrupt Decay in this match. But like game 1, he didn't really see much, right? Like he saw the Mystic, but like Noble Hierarch and you saw Tarmogoyf. These are not like super attractive targets.
So Doug actually wasteland the Savannah, which is pretty huge because, like we said earlier, Justin really only has 1 Tundra left in his deck to search for in order to activate his Stoneforge Mystic. And I'm not sure if he has a sack land or not, so be interested to see whether or not he's actually go live here. Doesn't have a Noble Hierarch. Yep, so it looks like he's going to be a little color screwed in this game. Does have a Jeté that he can cast, but again, without the white mana, that Batter Skull is going to be stranded in his hand, along with the Rest in Peace, which would shut down those Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be digging. That Ancestral Vision is going to need to hit a fetch land. It's going to need to resolve, which is the really tricky part.
Although, oh wow, if he top decks a white source here, it is huge.
2 Deathrite Shamans and 2 Tournaments, all the Squire you can handle.
And
right?
It's like, so let's see if we can get there. I mean, granted, if he doesn't top deck a white, he's still equipping Jeté. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but nope, just a basic island. So the next turn is going to be fairly interesting. Looks like we're going to have another Suspend here.
Yeah, Suspend, Equip. Our worst next turn is casting Bloodbraid Elf, pretty much. Like.
Well, the worst situation is if there's an Abrupt Decay off the 3 cards, which is you get no value off your Jeté. Oh wow, Sower Temptation.
He did bring in those Sowers. It's good to know. But other than that, he hit lands in Ancestral Visions. That was one of the most unimpressive draw threes I've seen in some time.
Yeah. So, assuming Justin kept in his lightning bolts, we're gonna have to see some pretty good draws off this Ancestral Vision. Preferably a fetch land that can get an island and a plains, or and a lightning bolt in order to deal with the sower.
Still a big game here. Suspending Ancestral Vision.
So hopefully he remembers the trigger, and he also does have a Bloodbraid Elf too. So it's going to be interesting to see, because the Rest in Peace is just so good right now. So if he can just draw plains and a lightning bolt, he's in pretty good shape.
He's got a lot of outs to hit those.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, like
he's
every
got
fetch in his deck is
Flooded
live.
Strand,
Like
Windswept Heath, Scalding Tarn, Misty Rainforest. Yeah, he's got plenty of outs. Goes for his
10
turn.
having the Tundra itself.
Doesn't look like he got one. Does have a Brainstorm. Oh wow, decided to. Okay, so he has a bolt. Okay, so
He's probably just casting his Bloodbraid Elf.
yeah,
Here.
doesn't really care. He has a click and bolt. So
He missed a trigger on his Ancestral Vision, his second one as well, I think.
that's unfortunate.
He's still got it stuck on 4 there.
Yep.
Considering what to do, I feel like you kind of have to Bloodbraid Elf. I guess you can bolt the Sower as a combat trick. Hope that does something.
I mean,
but
he also has a click in his hand, so I think bolting Sower is a fine play. He's really not missing that trigger though.
He's gonna click on the draw step.
Let
Those
him have
are fine.
it. Yeah, let him have all those. No problem with that. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate he missed the trigger, but he's going to get his Stoneforge Mystic back. He's going to be able to equip his Vendilion Click with Jitte. He's also going to be able to Brainstorm.
Now, if he blocks here, he will be putting a guy in the bin for the other Tarmogoyf.
Does he attack him with Deathray Channel? So now you definitely bolt it and you steal it back, and then you block,
Mystic.
get 2 counters. Yeah, this is huge.
Sizable.
So yeah, you just take the hits from the Goyf, the 2 Goyfs.
I might throw the click under 1 and then use the counters on the Jitte to kill one of them. But if you're gonna
I don't think you want to do that. I think you still want to I think you want to equip your click, because like if you can Brainstorm into a white source, activate your Stoneforge to put the Battle Skull into play and equip your click, that's great for you. But he decided to go a different route, and it looks like he's just going to try to kill one of the Tarmogoyfs.
Maybe his plan is to just lean on these counters. Maybe he's going to leave them. No? Okay, he's going to kill the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, well,
I think he might have just
still in
been
good
a
shape.
little scared of never finding that white and dying
Yeah.
to these Deathrite Shamans, just eating him alive.
Yeah. So he's going to get 4 draw steps here if he decides to cast a Brainstorm. He also has a Bloodbraid Elf in his hand. So let's see what he draws. He draws another Bloodbraid Elf. Is he going to go for the Brainstorm here? I think it's probably his best bet. He really wants to hit up White Source, I think. No, decides to go for a Bloodbraid Elf.
Doesn't want to gamble on that.
And worked out for him.
Clearly, Justin is way better.
Yes,
than
I'm
we
not going to
are.
lie. That was
Correct play.
much, much better play in hindsight.
Magic is really hard.
Magic is a tough play. I would have much rather just randomly hit a Rest in Peace as opposed to put the one in my hand on top and hope to draw a land. But who knows?
That's dirty.
Dirty, dirty.
Oh, Bloodbraid Elf on D. Rare mode for Bloodbraid Elf, but reasonably suitable, facing down triple Midnight Duelist over there.
Yeah. So is Justin going to be able to get enough of a dominating board position?
That was just such
before
a
the
kick.
Social Vision result?
Wow. I can't imagine that he'll be able to recover in time with once the Jitte goes active here.
There's a Windswept Heath, so Looks like he's going to be able to put the Batterskull in play. Does he want to equip the Bloodbraid Elf now with Jitte? Or is he just going to cast him with it? I really like getting the Batterskull in play.
I think you can just like jam both your guys and then just hard cast the Batterskull. That's not the craziest.
That's true.
If you just want to like guarantee you get more counters on those Jittes.
Oh, but he has a Brainstorm. I don't know. I kind of like just equipping. Or maybe he wants to see if he can set up a good web right here. which
Man,
we
that's
clearly
gotta
know
be
he
the biggest
doesn't need
danger
to.
with this deck, right? Like you just get a dictator.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to hit a sweet one. Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna go for the Shardless Agent, which he just put on top of his deck underneath the Tropical Island,
Okay.
and a Brainstorm.
Whee!
So here we go.
I'm not gonna call that one a Yahtzee because we rigged it. It's not a Yahtzee.
So did he cast the Brainstorm? Here we go.
He's going in.
So, all right, puts those two back. Are we going to get an attack with everything now? Yes.
Yep.
Coming in. Like,
Oh, Doug has a number of blocks. All of them are awful. Just the worst.
so, wow, yeah, rest in peace. Quite effective in this matchup.
Justin's sideboard plan really doing some work. He said in the deck tech that he was very proud of his sideboard. Likes it a lot, and yeah, he's showing it off right now.
The
This is what
sideboard
he
is
came here
proud
for.
of him. Doug is at, I believe, 16? 14.
He took 6 last turn. I guess that was first damage, other than maybe he fetched at some point. Yeah, he definitely had, I don't know, something like
Do we
that.
have another Bloodbraid Elf here? No. Yeah, it looks like we do have another Bloodbraid Elf.
Gonna read over our Jitte. Do we?
Looks like it.
Suit up a Shardless Agent, leave Stoneforge Mystic with Batterskull on defense.
Oh,
Looks
so
like-
he wants to. Looks like he might want to play a click to ensure that there's nothing Doug draws that's too devastating.
I don't know, man. Like if Doug could, you know, like Death Wish right here, I don't know what he'd get. Like, this is tough. Doug's smiling as he can't help but just think of the ludicrous nature of what's
Yeah.
going on right here. He's like, well, this Stoneforge Mystic Bloodbraid Elf Rest in Peace deck's really giving me the business.
I did not predict this.
Tough matchup.
Oh, Force of Will, Jace, land,
And draw step.
and then draw step reveals a
Brainstorm. Well, that gives us 3 more draws.
So, there's a
Shardless,
Agent.
Misty, and a
Hymn
Hymn.
Satora. Okay, so
Spin the
some
wheel.
lands back.
We're spinning. Have to pay mana for that Shardless Agent at some point.
Abrupt Decay.
All right. Well, we'll
Gain
gain
12.
12. Well, you could kill the Shardless.
No,
and gain-
because the Shardless.
Oh no,
is
you're
in
right.
play
It's on the
yet.
stack.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
on the stack still.
That we were cascading.
So those go away.
Still need to tap some lands for that Shardless. Might be getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
There we go.
You're gonna cast him too.
Why not? What else?
Oh,
What else
yeah.
is he gonna do?
Let's do something. Batterskull's gonna come into play. We gotta do something.
Maybe it'll resolve. Fingers crossed.
Oh, by the way, Justin is gonna be able to resolve his Ancestral Visions next turn. So.
Maybe it'll draw nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Looks like all the good cards are in play already. So, not sure what Doug can really do here. He's going to 12. Is he failing to find another land?
I think he grabbed one. Yeah, he went through the whole deck. I think he was kind of thinking the same thing. What can I do here? You know. But yeah,
So
he found an
does he
underground
only
sea.
have? Okay, so he has an underground sea. He's just going to cast him to Torek. Justin probably puts the Batterskull into play, discards 2 cards, then untaps and proceeds to devastate Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so pretty sure Doug is dead unless he's able to hit one of the Bloodbraid agents, Bloodbraid elves with the Hymn to Torah. Because we know Justin has one more Bloodbraid elf in his hand. Which would be exactly 12, even with a block.
6. 1. 2. All right, we got our cards. Click land.
Yep, so he's still got a Bloodbraid elf, so as long as he just...
I think he only has a Mystic and a Rest in Peace, actually, up in there.
Oh, really?
Maybe he threw one back at some point. Oh, we'll see if we can find one now. 1, 2.
Oh,
it's
he's
a lightning
a
bolt.
lightning bolt, so it's fine.
It is Academic from here.
And a Shardless Agent.
Do we Shardless first?
Yeah,
of course. Of course. Nobody who plays this deck would not cast the Shardless first.
It's like there's too many things.
Take a peek.
He has another
have another bolt.
He's able to play around the Force of Will, which Doug has in his hand. So if he just attacks with everything, I think the game is over. Yes, he blocks the Shardless Agent, takes 11. Uses Shardless Agent to block the Batterskull. Actually, he can't attack with the one of the.
One of the Shardless did just come into play. Yep.
But he's still going to have enough, so...
We're correcting that.
Takes 9, goes to 3, but he has a bolt on top of his deck. Even if it's a Force of Will, it won't really matter.
Right. So he's... Yep, this is 9. This bolt's still lethal. I'll play it again.
Pitch my Jace to Force of Will that. I will activate top to draw the bolt on top of my deck and cast
that bolt.
There we go. So, boom. Justin's well-thought-out Cascade deck wins the match 2-0. Defeats Bug Agent, which is a deck that looks like he was geared to beat.
Yeah, definitely showed up planning to just beat these other Tarmogoyf decks, especially once he gets rid of his Tarmogoyfs. Yeah. He's just dodging. He's like, not interested. I know I have Noble Hierarchs, but that's just really not something I want to do.
I want to make sure your Deathrite Shamans and your Tarmogoyfs are terrible.
That's a little incredible to me, too, because like the Bant aggro control deck that rose up last year, like one of the main perks to that deck was being able to play Noble Hierarch Tarmogoyf to trump other Tarmogoyfs. That was like a primary selling point, and this deck's just not really interested. I could do this, but this is so much better.
I think the fact that the deck also has Deathrite Shaman, which is just so good, I really like the fact that, he can not only, even if he's on the draw, if he goes turn 1 Noble Hierarch, if his opponent goes turn 1 Deathrite Shaman and he goes turn 1 Noble Hierarch, he's still going to have more mana than his opponent because of the Rest of Peace.
Yep.